Calderón de Valladolid. 1 hora y media de diversión y mucho inglés. Venta de entradas en taquilla o en tcalderón.com. Más información en el 983 22 80 16.
Empower your English. Empower yourself.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Western Civilization, from Mesopotamia to Silicon Valley. I'm your host. My name is Guy Williams, and today we are on internet. If anyone wants to check on internet, you can see me, you can see this program live. Now, the first thing today is the oddity of the correspondence between, well, today is Ash Wednesday. Yesterday was Mardi Gras, or Fat Tuesday, as we call it in the United States, Martes de Carnaval, and everything finishes at 12 o'clock. It is Ash Wednesday after that, and Quaresma, or Lent, begins today. Now, of course, in Madrid, traditionally, the burial of the sardine was always after Doña Quaresma was already here, already after Lent had already begun. But still, traditionally and around the world, Lent, the countdown, the 40 days before Easter, well, that begins today. First, secondly, by the way, Easter always corresponds to the first full moon. During Easter week, you get the first full moon after the equinox. So the spring equinox, when days and nights are of equal length, the 21st of March. After spring equinox, you have a full moon, which is very, very important in agricultural communities. And so that full moon normally coincides with Easter week. So yes, right now we're very close to the new moon, the second new moon after winter solstice. So after the solstice, the 21st of December, you get one new moon and the second new moon. Now, this second new moon is when the Chinese celebrate their new year, the beginning of the new year, which is 2 days from now. It will be the year of the dog. Another reason to celebrate. Also, today is Valentine's Day. As I mentioned on yesterday's program, the saint himself, the relics of the saint, the corpse, the cadaver, the mortal remains of the saint are, in fact, located in Madrid. He was Italian originally, but when French troops and Spanish troops were fighting in the Italian peninsula, the Spanish troops made sure that the remains of San Valentin, Saint Valentine, were brought to Madrid and deposited in the Church of San Antón, Calle Hortaleza. The Church of San Antón, which is famous, of course, for El Día de San Antón, Saint Anthony Abbot, Saint Anthony the Hermit, Ermita, right? Anacoreta. He had a good relationship with animals, and so the blessing, right, bendición, the blessing of the animals takes place on January 17th. But in that same church, you also have Saint Valentine. And so today, of course, there will be many people visiting that church and many people there to celebrate Saint Valentine. Another thing I would like to talk about before getting into tonight's subject, which of course is the Visigoths. Before getting into that subject, I would like to talk about the master's program in professional English. Tomorrow, the 15th, is an important day. In Madrid, in Barcelona, in Valencia, there are going to be interviews, there are going to be people there to test your level for entry into this program, which can make an absolute difference, a before and after. It can be a turning point, not just in your English, but in your life. Yes, this is the Once and For All program, a master's in professional English. And so you really, really ought to sign up for these interviews. The number to call would be 91-133-5833. All right, let's go into what I was speaking about, what I've been speaking about all week, which is this transition, this big moment in history where Recaredo embraces Catholicism and completely transforms the legal and spiritual situation in Spain. Now, as you remember, I was talking about Aquila, King Aquila I, who wanted to fight. He was, again, there was a rebellion. Atanagildo, who was not in line for the throne, evidently was not from a noble family. He was simply a dux. He was a military commander in Hispalis, in Seville, and he rose up, right? Se levantó. He rose up against Aquila, after Aquila lost a lot of goodwill by the local people. Aquila was responsible for the desecration of the remains of San Acisclo in Córdoba. Again, Córdoba rose up, Córdoba became independent. Córdoba stayed independent for over 20 years outside the control of the Visigothic kings. Atanagildo, seeing that Aquila was weak, fought him. And in that battle, Aquila lost his son, he lost the royal treasure, he lost pretty much everything and was killed by his own people in Mérida. Atanagildo took over and tried to retake Córdoba unsuccessfully. Atanagildo, again, lived, he took a wife, a woman named Goisfinta. Goisfinta, of course, from of the northern countries, from the Franks. She did the traditional thing. She had been raised a Catholic, but when she came to her new land and her new husband, she was rebaptized as an Arian in the new version of Christianity, the Arian version of Christianity. She was rebaptized and she became a fanatic Arian. We're going to see this in a few minutes, but she's going to be part of the problem. After Atanagildo died, it was the brothers, Leovigildo and Luiva, they shared command, they shared control. Luisa died early. It was Leovigildo who took over. And he was going to be something else. He was going to be a Visigothic king that nobody would forget. He was going to make an absolute difference. He had a dream. He had a vision. With all the difficulties, all of the lack of control, all of the distances, very few people at his disposal. Because remember that the Visigothic population was a very, very small percentage. The Hispano-Roman population was enormous. And then there were people completely out of control in the north, Cantabrians and Basques, and just people living on their own, coming down, causing problems, but out of control. The Suevos, that was another Germanic tribe in Galicia. The Franks to the north, possibly causing problems, and the Byzantines. The Byzantines were busy under Justinian trying to retake the entire Mediterranean. The Byzantines, under Justinian, under his general, had taken over North Africa, taken it from the Vandals, destroyed the Vandals, another group of Arians. And so the life for the Arians was getting more precarious. All around them, they had potential enemies. And Leovigildo knew this. But his vision was to extend his control everywhere. First, he tried to successfully fight against the Byzantines. They had the coast. He went down into what is today Baza, into what is Malaga, Medina Sidonia, all of these places. He began to liberate them, and the Byzantines lost a great deal of the area under their control. He went north and fought against the Basques. He went up to where the Cantabrians were. Evidently, the Cantabrians had taken over most of what is today Burgos. They had come down from those mountains. They had taken over as far as the capital of that area, presumably the capital of that area, Amaya, a fortified hill town, Amaya, which is going to be very, very important in Spanish history. Well, Amaya had been taken. We don't know who by, but the historian says that these are invaders. And what Leovigildo was trying to do was expel those invaders. And this is exactly what he did. Presumably those invaders were, again, Cantabrians. We're going to hear about Amaya very, very soon because remember that when, when Rodrigo loses to the Moors, when the Moors come in and begin to take over the entire peninsula, you've got just a very small area. After they take over Toledo, many of the people in Toledo, they try to run away. They try to go north. They go all the way to Amaya, and of course, Amaya then is a legitimate target. You've got Tariq, one of the first to take over. Tariq puts Amaya under siege because here you have a good part of the treasure from Toledo and many of the most prominent citizens of Toledo hiding in Amaya. And he does take Amaya, but the commander there, a man named Paulus, goes over the hill into deep into the Cantabrian mountains and hides there, waits for Tariq to go away. And this Paulus, well, he's going to have a son, Alfonso, the future Alfonso I, and he's going to marry his son to the daughter of Pelayo there, after the Battle of Covadonga. And out of this union between Amaya and Oviedo, you're going to get, a completely different, a completely new kingdom. Again, the vestige of what had been Visigothic power, and the vestige of what was a noble Hispano-Roman family. This will be, again, it's part of the beginning of what they call the Reconquista. But yes, this was years before, and Amaya, again, taken over by wild people, by hill people, by the indomitable Cantabrians. Remember that during the Cantabrian Wars, when the Romans captured the Cantabrians and crucified them, the Cantabrians were singing as they died. They were singing war songs on their crosses as they died. And this actually terrified the Romans. Well, there's no reason to believe that the Cantabrians had really changed very much since then. So yes, they were coming down from the hills, they had taken Amaya, and it was up to Leovigildo to take it back. One of the things he did to establish a greater presence up there and to keep these people in check, just like with the Basques, he had founded a city, Vitoria, so that every time the Basques came down from their hills, they would at least find some kind of military force to stop them. Well, it was also necessary to found a city in the heartland, in the Campus Gotorum, right? The fields of Goths. The land of the Visigoths, Campus Gotorum, which is why we talk today about Tierra de Campos. That's why it's called Tierra de Campos. And so he founded the Villa Gotorum, which over time had its name reduced, Villa Gotorum, to Toro, the city of Toro, founded again by Leovigildo. Now, he was also, he was able to capture large areas, as I say, in Andalusia as well, recaptured Cordoba as well, but I'll be getting to that in a minute. Now, one of the things that he did, he had two sons by a previous marriage. This is before Goswinta. He married Goswinta, Atanagildo's widow, married her, although presumably she was a lot older than he was, but in any case, he married her to give him more legitimacy, I suppose. In any case, a very prestigious thing to do. So, his wife was fully capable of organizing things while he was on campaign, because Leovigildo was always on campaign. And yes, successfully, again, taking over Galicia, beating the Suevos, successfully fighting against the bandits, because during all this time, you had rebellions in the lands. You had slaves, you had people who had been taken out of their homes, all kinds of destruction and devastation. remember that, very soon, you're also going to have La Peste, right? The plague, which practically destroyed Justinian's dream of reestablishing the Roman Empire. Justinian taking over North Africa, taking over Italy, taking over part of Spain. Justinian, who had every reason to believe that under his control, the Roman Empire was going to get born again. Well, there was a bubonic plague, which in many ways was as bad as the Peste Negra, right? As the Black Plague 700 years later. And that is also going to come to Spain and devastate Spain. You had the sources. The sources called them rustici, rustics, country people, in rebellion, up in arms, fighting. And yes, he has to pacify all of these people as well. Back then they were called, in addition to rustici, begaude, like bandits. And some people, some historians would like us to think that they were like Robin Hood and his merry men, or, I don't know, Curro Jimenez, something like that. They like to romanticize these bandits. But I'm absolutely convinced that these people they had no mercy. They were exceptionally violent and cruel with the farms, the villages, the towns, the cities that they were able to sack. Now, he had two sons from a previous marriage, sons from before Goswinta. This was Hermenegildo, the older brother, and Recaredo, the younger brother. And he had them both take over responsibility as quickly as possible. He had this dynastic idea in mind, which, again, in these times, it was very, very difficult because traditionally, among the Visigoths, the king had been appointed or named by a committee. And you didn't know which kind of law was going to apply. Roman law, where you have a dynastic succession, father to son, or the Germanic law, where it goes from brother to brother. The result, back then, they called it the morbus Gotorum. Morbus Gotorum, the Visigothic kings die. It's a very, very precarious occupation. It's high risk. Morbus Gotorum gave people the idea that if the king was not acting like a king, if the king was not delivering what a king is supposed to deliver, if the king was not performing, then legitimately you could kill him and name another king. That's the Morbus Gotorum, and all of the kings were afraid of that. And they should be, because many, many, many of them died. Many of them were killed. Many of them were killed by their own people. Leovigildo wanted to get around this, but of course it was very dangerous. And he named his two sons, Recaredo. Recaredo was put in charge of a city with his name, Recopolis. Recopolis, the ruins of Recopolis, can be visited today. There's Torrito las Canes, I think, and it's near Pastrana. If you're going to Pastrana, if you're anywhere near that area, then you should take a few minutes to visit the ruins of Recopolis, which will give you some idea of the way the Visigoths built, or what they liked, what their art was. So, the younger son was in the north, but the older son, well, he went south, which was a dangerous thing to do. He went to Hispalis, Sevilla, which was a very, very dangerous place. All right, I'll be talking about that in just a minute. Please stand by.
Oye, Carolina, para despedirme en el correo, ¿cómo es un saludo? ¿Cómo se dice un saludo en inglés?
A ver, no es un correo muy informal. Pon regards y ya está.
¿Cómo? ¿Regards? Ay, madre, me tengo que poner las pilas con el inglés, ¿eh?
Mira, de verdad, llevas desde que te conozco diciendo que tienes que aprender inglés. Y a estas alturas no deberías perder más trenes. Igual, para cuando pase el próximo, ya es demasiado tarde.
En el mundo de los negocios, el éxito no depende de la suerte. La clave es saber ver las oportunidades y aprovecharlas. Así que no dejes pasar esta oportunidad porque te lo vamos a poner muy fácil. Hasta el 17 de febrero tienes la posibilidad de hacer el Máster Vaughan de inglés para ejecutivos con un precio especial. Lo repetimos por si acaso. Uno de los más prestigiosos máster en inglés profesional con profesores especializados de Business English a un precio único. Llámanos al 911335833 o entra en grupovaughan.com.
Whether it's getting in shape or finally learning English, finally getting serious about your English, it seems that people are always looking for excuses to start next week, to start next month, to start next year, to ponerse las pilas, as they say, to put the batteries in, but to really make the decision and make a jump with your English or with your fitness or with your guitar playing skills or whatever it may be. But one of the biggest excuses is, I'm too busy. I work too much. And that's an excuse that as English teachers, we hear a lot. I'll get serious with my English later, but I'm busy. I have too much work. I'm too busy. Well, we have a special course in Vaughan for people who work full-time with a busy career, with busy lives, and it's the EMIP, the Executive Master in Inglés Profesional. The EMIP course, which is an evening course. Yes, it's intense, but it is designed for people who are busy, who are working through the day. So if you want to make a jump with your English, if you're ready to take your English to the next step, I would encourage you to inquire about the EMIP, the Executive Master in Inglés Profesional de Vaughan, of course. And you can find out more by calling one of our representatives at 91-133-5833. That's 91-133-5833. So give us a call, 91-133-5833. Or you can find more information through our offices, our delegaciones, at grupovaughan.com. And that's the EMIP, the Executive Master in Inglés Profesional, a course that is tailored, it is designed for busy people like you. If this describes you, if you're a busy person working all day and you want to work on your English in the evening, then this is the course for you, the EMIP. Give us a call, 91-133-5833.
Está en Roma.
It's in Rome.
Está en esa silla.
It's on that chair.
Está en el sillón.
It's in the armchair.
Está en el este.
It's in the east.
Está en este mapa.
It's on this map.
Está en el cuadro.
It's in the picture.
Está en aquella mesa.
It's on that table.
Está en esta calle.
It's on this street.
Los cursos trimestrales te ofrecen este programa.
¿3 meses y luego ¡pum! Ya está.
Este año no hay excusas. Apúntate ahora llamando al 911335833 o entra en grupobaugan.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Western Civilization, from Mesopotamia to Silicon Valley. On the first part of the program, I was speaking about the Visigoths, and especially the most famous of the Visigoths, the most effective Visigoth king, Leovigildo, and his 2 children, who are going to be a source of problems for him. Meanwhile, for the first time, we are available on internet. You can tune in and you can watch this program. And people have been saying hello to me. Actually, people, someone from Argentina, somebody from Mexico. And it would be very interesting for me to know what the take is in these different countries of, well, you've got La Madre Patria and of the Visigothic history in Spain from a South American perspective or Central American perspective. It would be very, very interesting to know what you think. All right. So, before the break, I was talking about Cosminta, Leovigildo's wife, and how, as a convert to Arianism, she is a fanatic. Now, when it is time for the older of the 2 brothers, the elder brother, Hermenegildo, when it is time for him to get married, why not follow the tradition? Get a Frankish bride. Go up to the Franks and find a suitable girl. And she is a girl. She's only 12 years old. Only 12 years old, 12 or 13. And they send for her. She travels all the way south. And once she arrives, she decides, at that tender age, she decides that she is not going to be rebaptized. She is not going to have anything to do with Arianism. She's not going to follow in the traditions. She is the granddaughter of Cosvinta. And now she's going to be the daughter-in-law in addition, right? Nieta y nuera of Coswinta. But they're going to be mortal enemies. They're going to start fighting almost immediately. Coswinta transformed her life into hell. Coswinta tortured her, did everything she could to, one way or another, you are going to adopt the Aryan religion, yes or yes. And that's what happened. That's what Coswinta thought. The wife, Ingundis, at her age, again, was adamant, was very, very, cabezota, was very stubborn, and there was nothing they could do. It was one time she was going to Mass in a Catholic church, right? Remember that all the good churches at that time, all the prestigious churches, all of that those were Arian churches and reserved for Visigoths. But here she was going to a Catholic church, and Coswinta arranged for an enormous pile of manure, estiércol, to be dumped on her. So here she was, covered with manure. And this kind of thing. Humiliation, again and again. Humiliation, pain, and Coswinta very quickly became part of the problem. driving a wedge, driving a gap between father and son. The whole thing, the whole project of Leovigildo was now that he had established himself sort of geographically, now that he was once and for all in charge of pretty much all of Spain, under his command, well, he began to emulate his enemy Justinian, there in Constantinople. He began a building project. So, in Toledo, before that, the capital had been sort of itinerant. They had gone from Cordoba to Hispales, Sevilla, to Mérida, the big Roman city, to Toledo. Yes, around and around in that area. And of course, there were always palaces up north in the heartland, in the Campus Cultorum, Tierra de Campos. There were lots of things there that they could do. But a permanent capital to imitate Constantinople. So this would be the Western Constantinople, self-consciously imitating, with the same kind of nobility, the same kind of prestige, the same kind of decorum and pomp that Justinian enjoyed in Byzantium. This is what Recaredo wanted for himself in Toledo, in his capital. So, just like Justinian was busy building Hagia Sophia, Santa Sophia, there in Constantinople, well, they began to build enormous structures down in La Vega, the lower part of Toledo. This area, there had been a Roman stadium there. There had been a hippodrome in Roman times, but the Romans lived up in what is today Toledo itself, up in the hilly area, not down on the flats. Some of the saints were there, right? Leocadia, San Ildefonso, yes, their churches were down there, but until Leovigildo, that area really hadn't been built up. And so he built a splendid city there, the ruins of which have not been excavated yet because they still don't know what they're doing in Toledo. That area, it's land that was sort of abandoned until relatively recently, and now they want to build on it. And there's a project for 16,000 houses to be built on that land, rather than excavating a park, rather than letting archaeology do what it should do. And, sometimes you get, at nighttime you get construction in areas that could give us all kinds of information about the Visigoths, about the archaeological heritage. But again, Leovigildo built his new Constantinople down in the Vega in Toledo. There, because his daughter-in-law, Ingundis, and his wife, Goswinta, were fighting and fighting and fighting. Evidently, that is why he sent his son down as military commander, Dux, down to Hispales, to Sevilla. And this was a very, very dangerous thing to do. Because, first of all, he was out of control, out of his father's control. Secondly, there was the wife, The wife, again, was Catholic, and she was going to try and convince her husband to become Catholic. Of course, maybe he wasn't going to listen to her. She's only 13 years old, but, well, there's always that danger. And down in Hispalis, you've got Byzantine-educated spies. You have San Leandro. San Leandro, who he found a vocation very early. He went into a monastery, but then his parents died, and he had younger siblings, right, brothers and sisters, to look after. So he came out of the monastery, and he was responsible for bringing them up. His little brother, Isidoro, who is also going to be a saint, and in fact one of the fathers of the church, Isidoro, Leandro really made his life miserable. Leandro was very, very strict, and Isidoro had to do everything his older brother told him to do. His older brother punishing him and disciplining him, and again, always excessive. But the result, of course, was perhaps the most intelligent, the most learned man in the beginning of the Dark Ages, in the beginning of the Middle Ages. So yes, San Isidoro is going to be an author, a very, very prolific author, writing in many different languages, compiling histories and natural history, science, and doing all kinds of fascinating things. And we owe him a great debt. So yes, San Leandro, responsible for San Isidoro. Maybe there was an easier way, but still, he was he was kind of cruel to his younger brother. Now, San Leandro, the family was originally from Cartagena, and Cartagena was the headquarters of the Byzantines. San Leandro, when Leovigildo finds out what San Leandro is doing, San Leandro is going to run away to Constantinople, going to be there for 3 years. There, by the way, he meets the future Pope, San Gregorio. They get along very well. Gregorio Magno. Both men see eye to eye, right? Están en la misma onda. They see eye to eye about many different things. So that is his exile, again, in enemy territory. There we are, in the south, in Andalusia, in areas possibly under Byzantine control. And so, sooner or later, Hermenegildo rebels against his father. Leovigildo first doesn't know how to take it. There are a couple of years of indecision because Leovigildo really doesn't know how to proceed. He sees his own position as very precarious. He understands that with this conversion to Catholicism, his son is going to make common cause with all of the Hispano-Romans who represent the great majority of the population. Demographically, the Visigoths are very, very small, and so very susceptible, very vulnerable if this rebellion starts taking off. And remember that at this time the Sueves are Catholics, and the Franks are Catholics, and the Byzantines, and all of the enemies, the enemy within the Hispano-Romans, are also Catholic. And so Leovigildo, in a panic, begins to modify Arian doctrine. The traditional Arian doctrine was that the Father, right, God, is divine, supernatural, but the Son is not. And so Jesus, this explains, of course, why Jesus died. And so the Father, divine, but the Son, human. And the Holy Ghost really doesn't figure in. Now, again, considered heresy, considered heretical by the Catholics. And so, Leovigildo modifies the doctrine and recognizes the divinity of Jesus, that Jesus is Christ. And that begins to change everything. But of course, the Holy Ghost, he says, no, absolutely not. Nothing divine about him. There's nothing in any book that says the Holy Ghost is God. There's nothing in the book. There's nothing anywhere that would justify a Trinity. So, this part modification, but is that enough? Is that enough to convince the Catholics to come over to this new sort of syncretic religion? And yes, in many cases, because Leovigildo also offers all kinds of incentives. And many, many people do. There are some people who don't. I'll be talking about one in particular later, Masona, the Bishop of Mérida, but he refuses. But many, many others muerden en el anzuelo, right? Many of the others take the bait. And to make it easier, to make it sweeter, Leovigildo allows the Hispano-Romans and the Visigoths to get married. Before that, it was a racial apartheid. But with Leovigildo, he's looking for a union, one people, one religion. And now his son is rebelling against him. Well, yeah, he waits around for 2 years and then goes south and wins. His son has to abandon Seville and take refuge in Cordoba, which, of course, Cordoba, as I say, independent. Now, Cordoba at that time was under Byzantine command. And so the Byzantines, of course, giving shelter, abrigo, giving shelter to his rebel son, Leovigildo goes to the Byzantine commander and offers him a lot of money. A bribe, soborno, a bribe. And the commander takes the bribe. So Leovigildo comes into Cordoba, and his son, Hermenegildo, hides in a church, because, of course, the church offers sanctuary. And according to the story, it was his younger brother, it was Recaredo, who came in and told him that, well, Father doesn't mean anything. If you come out now, you won't get hurt. If you come out now, all of this will be forgotten. If you just leave. And Hermenegildo listens to his younger brother, comes out, and they go back, they go to Toledo. They're in Toledo. Leovigildo begins to punish his son and take all of his honors away, take all of his property away, take his slaves away, take everything he has from him, and then puts him in exile in Valencia. And so he goes away to Valencia to exile. At this time, Ingundis, evidently with a son now, Ingundis had the wife of Hermenegildo, Ingundis, who, is 15 years old, 16 years old at this time? Anyway, she has a son, and she's doing her best to find somewhere to go. Ideally, she would go back up north to the Franks, or maybe find some kind of refuge in Byzantium. But it doesn't work. We don't know what happened to her, but according to every account, she died en route. She and her child died trying to find sanctuary somewhere. In any case, Hermenegildo evidently rebelled again, because the next thing we hear about him, he is not in Valencia. No, he has escaped. He is in Tarraco. He's in Tarragona. And there, somebody, Sisiberto, something like that, a local commander, kills him. And the excuse, the pretext is that he did not accept communion. They had the Arian ritual and the Arian rite of transubstantiation, and the communion, the host, and they gave it to Hermenegildo, and he refused. And this, at least according to the story, is the reason that he was killed. However, you do not kill the royal heir. You do not kill the crown prince if the order doesn't come directly from the king. I mean, Leovigildo must have given the order. So yes, filicide, the killing of a son. Now, in his later days, Leovigildo, he didn't live that much longer, but yes, he did begin to build his new Constantinople, and there in the Vega, things were better, at least better for the king, than they ever had been before. Now, when he died, it was the younger son, Recaredo, who took over. The indisputed master in all of Spain, because Spain at that time was united in a way it had never really been before. And the king had much more power than he had ever had before. And with the loyalty of the Hispano-Romans, well, all of that would have been complete. So, Recaredo began by continuing his father's policies, a kind of a mix, a kind of a blend between Arianism and Catholicism, but after about 10 months, just gave it up. After about 10 months, he announced that he was converting to Catholicism, and that everybody who followed him, everybody loyal to him, all of his staff, all of his armies, that everybody should follow in his footsteps and convert to Catholicism. Now, naturally, this was exceptionally controversial with the Arian bishops, and some of them simply rebelled. I'll be talking about that on another program. But yes, some of them rose up and tried to stop and tried to kill him. But others did not. And very, very quickly there was a council in Toledo, a concilium, or rather the third council of Toledo, with lots and lots of Catholic bishops and 8 Arian bishops, 72 Catholic bishops, 8 Arian bishops, and they adopted a series of measures to unite the country in one religion. In addition to which, this gave ecclesiastical sanction to the institution of the king helping the church helping the king. This was one way to break free of the morbus cotorum, right? With the church helping in the dynastic succession, maybe things could change. All right, I've run out of time. Thank you for listening, and please listen to my next program.
Oye, Carolina, para despedirme en el correo, ¿cómo es un saludo? ¿Cómo se dice un saludo en inglés?
A ver, no es un correo muy informal. Pon regards y ya está.
¿Cómo? ¿Regards? Ay, madre, me tengo que poner las pilas con el inglés, ¿eh?
Mira, de verdad, llevas desde